Thanks, Laura.
Ooh, okay. Okay, I would make a motion that we accept the May 22nd minutes as circulated in the board package. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, did folks have a chance to review them? Are there any comments, questions, corrections? I'll give you a small one. That guy from Comcast is actually Jake. I don't know if that matters, but for our purposes. All right, if there's no questions, all in favor of accepting as circulated, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any abstentions? Or no, okay. Okay, financial reports. Did folks get a chance to review the financial reports that were circulated in the board package? Let's do it again. I'll make the motion that we accept as presented. Do I have a second?
What which report are you?
It says all facilities, Trenton Parking Authority, garage revenue summary.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll second it.
Okay, all right, let's take a look. Any discussions, questions, comments? You'll notice there is a jump in our income, and that's related to the state's activity, wherein they bought additional cards as they are digging up the former PSNG coal ash location down by the labor industry. I still don't think that gets us to where we were pre-COVID, does it? Or it's okay, we're but the other thing. Yeah, no, we're still not back, but it's you get a lot. Okay, if no questions, comments, thoughts on that. All in favor of accepting the reports as circulated? Aye.
Aye.
And I think there's no one left to abstain or oppose. Okay. The checklist that was circulated, I will make a motion that we accept the checklist. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody have any questions in that?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Mhm.
As it relates to like the generator, so it looks like 27,000, say 27.5 this month, May. Prior month was 18.7, and the March, I think that's when the installation was 9,000. So we're like $45,000 into it. But is this 27,000 gonna be more like our monthly going forward,
Yes.
or is
Yes.
Well, hopefully, we're not going forward too many more months.
yeah? Well,
Well,
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, it is. It's about $28,000. Yep.
All right. Next question is.
This happened before you, just so you know what we're talking about. Are you aware the power got lost over at the parking deck at the hotel? And we are now redoing all of that, and Louis talked about it, and so we're running on a generator. And that's why we're saying this hopefully won't last too much longer. Sorry, Scott.
No problem. I'm going to skip one to go down to. I got three, but let me go down to Marshall Industries, HVAC repairs at Warren. What happened?
There was a big leak downstairs in the basement in the pipes. So all of the fluids leaked out and they had to redo all of that. And then guess what? After they redid all of that, further on down the line, it leaked again.
What leaked out? It was nothing hazardous, was it? Just Freon?
Put a Freon.
Okay.
Yep.
Last one is.
The next one, which you'll see this month coming,
Mm-hmm.
it's like $2,600 because they ate the labor.
Okay.
So that was just, yeah, because the leak just continued, it just burst further down. And there's not much you can, unless you want to go replace everything.
Lou, is this something we should be concerned about relative to what Scott's raising? Hazardous in any way, or is Freon just?
I'm sorry, and was that directed to me, that question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, Lou.
Yes.
there
Yeah,
anything-
well, the unfortunate part, it sounds like one of the coolant pipes ended up with a hole in it, Patrice, and so it all leaked out.
You
When we
told
used
us
to-
more about.
And they don't support Freon anymore. It's a different, I think it's R22, and now that's going out in favor of a new one. And they're all very costly. Do you know, Patrice, were they able to use Freon again, or it's an R22?
I know that, like, when he had called, because I was like really upset, I was like, look, we just paid you all this money. I know it's not their fault, because it's not the same spot, but, it was still like $2,600, and that was only for the Freon. They didn't
Right,
charge
and
us
that-
for the labor, they ate the labor on
So the concern is that there's, the pipes are older and you might have an issue somewhere else it's a complete loop in the system, right? And so it appears that you're just getting some failures in the piping. Short of replacing the system, this is gonna be what you're up against until it's at the end of its useful life, which may be approaching. I don't know, those are the units in the basement, Patrice, that provide the heating and cooling to your offices and to TDA offices.
Yes.
Is that the system that went down?
it. Yes,
Right,
Feels terrific in here today.
yeah, but out there now, we don't have it.
Oh,
On the
wait.
vestibule
vestibule.
and upstairs,
Oh,
that
so-
area.
oh, they're
Yeah.
insulated.
They'll be out here tomorrow morning to,
Scott? You had another? Well, you're.
Now you're muted.
He's smiling, but he's muted.
There I am. I had too many screens open. All right, let me go back to where I was at. Okay, yeah, the last thing is City of Trenton Division of Housing Inspection for the Broad Front renewal. Regarding their $5,000, what do they do for $5,000?
It's a vacant,
nothing. They come in and inspect it every year and come and bring us that bill every year.
Well, inspection means what? They
That's-
didn't go inside the building.
Yes,
Well, we're all shored up, they can go in.
so they come in once.
they
a
come
week.
in, they don't go far into it, they just walk in. They have you open the door, they walk in, they walk back out, they walk around, make sure that the gate's secured, make sure all that's secured, and then they bring some bill.
And then $5,000.
Well, they said that that's 2 years, but I don't remember receiving it last year.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, it just seemed like a lot of money. I don't recall ever seeing that big of a hit from, considering they are just doing a walk around, but they make money somehow, I guess. That's all.
Good eye. Okay. All right, with that, can I ask for a vote to accept the bill payment checklist as circulated? And clarified. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. No one to abstain or vote no. Okay, you also got our nonprofit accounting report, which as you know is the backward looking, and the Phoenix report, which is our monthly forward looking. The forward looking one is the one I think we look at most closely, but our consultant is confident that we are on pace to be able to meet our bond obligations, which is paramount. Anybody have any questions about those? We actually don't vote on those, but we circulate. All right, so just going through chairperson's report, Lou had been asked and he, well, we had a meeting with Lou and I and Patrice met with Joanne Povia and Kathy Nichols from CCRC. And I think sort of cleared the air and, reinforced our position and said to him, we want to start this again. And Lou did an expansive kind of presentation of what pre-demolition functions might fall in. They did indicate that there would be some receptivity to working in the costs that have been denied thus far. That process, to my mind, kind of reinforce that they don't really have a construction type advisor themselves, and so they're kind of winging it, and we're paying a price for that. Lou, did you have anything you wanted to share about that meeting or any insights, any thoughts?
Sure. So it seemed to me that part of their focus was they wanted to get a handle on the overall cost of the project and then what the specific tasks and what the spending would be against those costs. They were asking us to identify those. So one of the attachments as part of the facility report was an updated budget. It's dated June 6th. And it's an updated budget for the uses of the funds, and it also provides a recap of the total project budget and where the sources of funds may be ultimately. And so I produced that in after speaking with them after that meeting. That seemed to be the direction they wanted us to go with a deliverable, to get back to them. So I produced that, and so that's been sent back to the TPA at this point. I'm not sure that it's gone back to CCRC yet, but I think that might be the basis for the new application that they referred to in the meeting. They had talked about the TPA making a new application. They didn't actually provide an application form, but it sounded like that would be forthcoming as part of the follow-up to the meeting. Right. So that seemed to be my takeaway, and so I tried to update the budget to reflect other tasks that that we weren't anticipating that might be out there, still carrying contingencies, but trying to identify as much as I could as to specific costs that we will encounter in the pre-demolition, and then ultimately there'll be a public bid for the demolition of the structure itself.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good characterization of where we are, so we'll push forward on that now, and that'll be our July activity for sure. The asset activation grant update, we were struggling a bit with how that was being presented, and just recently, because I just got an updated one today, I sent to you. It's still confidential, it's kind of embargoed, it shouldn't be out until we get a press release and get it out, but there's a new presentation on the RFI. I actually approached a guy that has done a lot of work downtown for TDA and the like to do that from a design standpoint, so it just looks a lot better. I had tried to do it, and that's really not what I do. I was using a template, it didn't look that great, so now it looks quite professional. It looks much more of a strong presentation of the city, of the property. And we are, we've kind of got George Washington up front. We're talking about what happened across the street in the park and trying to create that magic of the site. So I think we're pretty, done. The text will not have changed a lot from what people have seen in the past. But it still can be tweaked. We're kind of at the end at this point. So take a look in your emails for that.
Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yes.
Would you just expound on that project so that I'm better familiarized with that?
Sure.
Please.
We got a
Thank you.
grant. It was called an asset activation grant from the New Jersey EDA. They made grants available for underutilized or non-utilized public property. And so we submitted that grant, and we put together a two-step process, one which was to be a civic engagement process where we did public meetings with stakeholders, neighbors, and the like. That happened last quarter of 2023. New Jersey Future was hired to manage that whole process, to get input. The next part was to do an RFEI, a request for expressions of interest, wherein we would go out to the market, out to the real estate development community, and ask for proposals. These are all non-committed, and it's very clear in the language, if you look through it, that we're not committed to accept any proposal. We can kind of go back and negotiate them, but we said we would invite people to reply, and we would kind of create a short list, and then probably do an RFP, a request for proposals, which would be more of a formal kind of public process. This really is a way to test the market to see what real estate developers would propose for that site. Our thought was, we don't want to presume. Maybe it's residential, maybe it's mixed use, maybe there's a company that's looking for a really good site near a busy train station and would respond to this. So we are casting a very wide net. We're gonna get this out broadly. We have a developers list. We actually purchased another developers list through a contractor with Dun & Bradstreet. So we can get it out via email to as many developers as we can. You know, my feeling, and I say this a lot, is that we need to diversify the economy of the city. And so if we could use this really stellar site, it is to me the best development site in the city, if not downtown, for sure. If we can use this and kind of sell the magic of you're overlooking this remarkable historic park, it'll always be a park, they'll always have those views, that's a south-facing wall, which is very important to residential developers, for instance. We only get one chance to do this. And that's why I've been decided to go get a more professional presentation with a lot of pictures and illustrations representing Trenton as well as the site. So that we can get this out broadly and really hopefully create some buzz statewide within the development community and get a lot of responses. And frankly, I think we are going to get a fair amount of responses because we've already gotten, there's, you know, every time it gets brought up, people are like, oh, I want to see that, I want to see that. There are people that look to do urban development, and frankly, you know, the North Jersey sites, the North Jersey cities have gotten incredibly overpriced. There's very little available, and what is available is crazy high price. We are seeing this as an opportunity to do something really good for the city that could possibly be catalytic for our downtown. This could be, I want to call it like an iconic corner. It's a corner of two busy streets. It's across from this historic park. And could we get something that really is of a quality that we haven't necessarily seen, but then attracts other investors to other opportunities within our downtown. So I think it's important that we do it right, that we get it out there and, you know, and have something that really catches people's attention.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so read it again
Good.
with mind. We have kept it relatively short because we do know developers don't like to have to spend $5,000 and $10,000 to respond to these. We would rather get a lot of responses, and then we have a consultant, this guy, Nassau Capital Advisors, more specifically Bob Powell, who used to be the director of NJEDA. He now is a consultant that is going to help us vet everybody that responds to see who has the capacity, who has most likely to succeed, most likely to bring something of quality to the city. But we only get one chance to do this, so that's what, you know, that's the thought process.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, I sent both the document and a link. If people don't want to download, they can just take a look. Okay. The kind of action things we have for tonight here specifically, we have talked about the Verizon antenna proposed lease agreement. They've been doing a lot of due diligence, and they're at the point where they've asked us to review their lease. I'm going to kick this to you, Michael, if you can tell us your thoughts on that and where we are from your standpoint. You're going to want to unmute. Yeah.
Sure. I had the lease up in some window and now I can't find it, but the leases are pretty standard. You know, the cell companies have their own kind of form of lease. And I didn't have any real objections. There were a couple comments that we may want to discuss with them that relate to, you know, they want 24-hour access to the equipment, and I'm not sure that we have 24-hour access to the garage. So
that is the hotel garage that they're wanting to put these on, and that is our 124-hour garage.
okay, and then the biggest kind of question at this point is, you know, there's an electrical component to their equipment, and the electrical service to that facility right now is in a period of transition. So will our facility and the current electrical as it exists and as we are planning to repair it, will that meet their needs for the equipment that they're going to have in the leased area?
So do we sub-meter, can you speak to that question? Do we sub-meter? Could they ever bring in their own service?
What will happen, if I'm not mistaken, and again, if it's not, it should be addressed in the lease to your question, Ann, as to whether their own service will be provided. I believe the answer to that is no, that they do expect that you'll provide service. However, I do believe they are providing a generator that would provide emergency power to only their equipment. And they propose that to be located also in the garage. It would be fueled, I believe it's diesel, so it's not like gasoline, but it's still a petroleum-based, hazardous material. So those are issues that can be addressed again in the lease. But I think those are the particulars, as I understand them. They will be drawing off your power. They will have equipment that's supposed to be in the area of your electrical equipment and elevators. That's where they plan to locate it. Their engineers will do all the structural engineering to make sure the building will support the equipment as well as the antennas that get mounted to the walls. And that'll be dictated by their service needs. They'll locate them based on the signal. So that's, as I understand what's happening. And as Mike said, they do have standard boilerplate type leases. They do need 24-hour access so they can access their equipment and the generator and that type of thing. So those are, I think, the highlights. You can get insurance for, for the risks and for their, any losses they might cause, name you insured, et cetera. So it's a pretty standard. If I recall, I believe there were 4 antennas they were proposing. They had provided some drawings, preliminary ones, a while back.
We revisit all this. Phil's got some comments. I'm curious too, as to where this is located and what's it gonna look like.
Okay, so it's supposed to be on the 7th floor, right there beside the elevator shaft. But what I discussed with them, and the last thing that I thought was they were supposed to be getting their own meter, and they was gonna pay their own meter bill because they didn't want to have to go through finance to try to pay us back for the electricity they were using.
I would prefer that.
They are at their own meter or sub meter.
Right.
That's great. We might be able to coordinate if they need service. Public service needs to provide you with new service. And that goes to Michael's point earlier about whether the new service will support, they'll need to match your service. Currently, your service to the building is 480. And the whole reason we're going to talk about the electrical changes, but public service is now providing a 208 volt service. So that means you'll have the transformer, which is part of the proposal you've received. So that would be an ideal time to coordinate it with public service. If 2 services are going in the building, one for Verizon and one to restore the garage electric service.
Can I ask clarification, because this has been so long that we've been talking about this. What are they putting it up? It's on the backside. It's not that real visible from the street, right?
No, it's actually covered up by the wall on the 7th floor.
You're saying 7th floor,
The roof.
the roof. So they're exposed to the outside though, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, but what they're putting down there is fine.
Is it the creek side that it's?
No, it's on the Lafayette side.
Right. It'll be viewed, I think, Dan, what you're asking, you can see it from the street. If you looked up, it'll be mounted to the highest point of the wall of your deck. And as Phil said, I think there's 2, Phil, if I'm not mistaken, 2 face Lafayette and 2 face,
Yeah.
What is that? The side street is
Warren Street.
Warren.
Warren.
That's Warren, right? I think 2 antennas face Warren and 2 antennas face Lafayette on the outside up at the highest
The antenna.
wall of the building.
Wait a minute, we got 2 people talking at once.
I'm
Did
sorry.
I thought you said 15.
How many?
No, it's 4 antennas. But the generator is going on the 7th floor by the elevator shaft.
What did you say about something?
I did.
What did you say?
I thought there was.
Oh, Okay, okay. I thought she said there was 15 of
Oh,
these.
no,
things. That was starting to look, whoa, okay. But these are kind of innocuous looking.
They're all over the city. If you look up, you'll see them all over the city. It's a little thing, it's flat like this, I mean, it's a little big, but it's flat like this, got 4 antennas going up and they face on the side of the wall. It's real, they don't block any of our parking spaces or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, but aesthetically, so we wanna not be. Scott, is that your hand up?
No, but I did have a question though, but I didn't put my hand up.
He's got your hand on your screen though.
That's the mouse.
Oh, that's your mouse.
Yeah. But I'll take advantage of the hand because I did have a question.
Sorry.
Raise the hand, okay. Yeah.
Going back to the power consumption needed for the antennas, and if they have a sub-meter, are they gonna, do you feel that the either amperage voltage, where we're getting currently, is sufficient enough to support what they need? And if it doesn't, would they offset the cost and pay for anything additional if we needed it?
I would suspect they would, or they might just decline to move ahead, if they find it's cost prohibitive. But I honestly, with the LED lights and the improvements you've made over the years electrically to the building, you don't draw as much power. So I would suspect that you have some extra capacity in your, in the new system that PS will be installing that would support Verizon. I don't think these antennas draw all that much. They're low voltage, but they do have a generator because they need constant power in the event, there's a power outage. They still need backup. So that's why they're putting a generator in.
And where's the generator gonna be, on the 7th floor?
7th.
7th, that's also on the 7th floor.
On the upper level, by the elevators, by the electrical equipment right adjacent, as the building currently is configured.
All right, so Michael, is our next move, do we take a vote to move ahead, sign this lease? What's our next move? To keep this on a track that they're.
Yeah, you can take a vote to move forward.
All right, so I will make a motion that we move forward with the Verizon antenna proposal lease agreement. Maybe subject to any final review by our attorney. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it. Second it.
Discussion?
Yeah, timing wise, I'm sure they'd like to get started soon, but what about our electrical upgrades? Where are we with that? Or is there a time that we're gonna talk about that later? Because I'm just wondering when this all will happen.
We can jump immediately to Lou's report if you like.
Yeah, I'm just curious of where we are with it in terms of, we signed
Yeah,
it at least today, but we won't get it for 6 months,
Right, so I could give you a quick update on that. So we received a price from your electrical contractor for $95,205. It's attachment number 6, I believe. Yes, it's item 6 to the facility report. And what that is the proposal for the cost to the parking authority for the new transformer and the associated wiring, the feed wiring, to connect to the public service, new electrical service feed that will be provided directly to the garage. The previous electrical service came through the electrical room in the hotel, which was vandalized, resulting in where we are today with the temporary generator providing power. So the next step to respond to the question about schedule. According to the electrician, he's ready to pull a permit. He needs to release the transformer to be fabricated, and he needs a 1/3 deposit. So it's roughly $32,000 deposit he needs in order to release the transformer, pull the permit, and schedule the installation of the new service with public service. I asked him, well, what would that entail in terms of timing? He said it's totally up to public service. He thinks he'll have the transformer in about 2 weeks. He said PS will definitely be driving the schedule for the new service. that will alleviate that 28,000, almost $1,000 a day you're paying currently for the temporary electric generator that's there. Now, all this being said, my expectation, and Patrice could speak to it, your insurance company's been working with you all along. They've asked for all kinds of information and quotes and get a better understanding, and they have all that. And as of the end of last week, it was with their underwriters for someone to make a decision and respond. You should be covered for both the temporary generator costs and they've reviewed this $95,000 and spoken directly to your electrician to get a better understanding. And so that's my understanding of where we are. We don't have a commitment for the claim from travelers yet. However, every indication is it will be covered, both parts, the temporary power cost as well as the new service cost. And the schedule is subject to setting a date with public service once we release the transformer. So it's a lot of info. Please, any questions, I'm happy to respond, but I believe that's where we are. And currently we're still powering the garage with the temporary generator.
Well, so I had a concern from something I saw that there might have been a really extended time waiting for that equipment, but it sounds like that's not the case.
Right, we were concerned it was a custom fabrication because of the power change. Apparently, it's available. This is gonna step the power. Your building was set up for 477 power and we're gonna provide 208. So this transformer will take that 208 power and transform it to 477. So your elevators will still work, the lighting will still work. It's no different as far as the equipment's concerned, but your service will be different. And that's the need for the transformer.
Is that?
And again, that goes back to Michael's point in Verizon, that they need to know now it's 208 and they need to produce their equipment to run off of 208 service instead of 477. I don't even know if they know that yet. They may not have engineered it to that point, but we need to make them aware of this new service coming in.
So Scott, does that kind of address your concern?
Yes.
All right, then why don't we go back to that conversation? We're gonna jump back to you, Lou, in a minute, but let's all in favor of moving the motion, moving forward with Verizon subject to final legal review. Say aye.
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 Okay, all good. So let's go back to Lou. I do have a question. When we started working with Joe Peoples, one thing he said that I thought was very interesting, he said, you're gonna have a really good read on your usage because the generator process will tell you really where you need to be. Has that been important? Has that conversation come back up again? Are we?
And it's a good question. It has not, but we could certainly ask Joe. I think what he was alluding to is they have a meter on the generator. So you can, he can go back and get a historic record and tell you exactly what the consumption's been, et cetera. So that would be good insight. And that would also give you a baseline once Verizon does incorporate their system in your building, you can see what the step up in usage is, and there are sub meters or ideally a separate, metered service for them would be the ideal. A lot of times the fire department won't allow that because, when they go in a building, typically there's only one electric service once they safe that off to fight a fire or an emergency. If you have two, it's somewhat not typical, and many times they don't allow it because of that circumstance. It's just not typical and not expected. They may make an exception for Verizon, and again, you can get a sub-meter if it is off your service, which shouldn't be a problem.
I just was wondering, because we had, we recognized that we had done all those new efficient LED lights and.
Right.
I don't know if we ever kind of if we really tracked the benefit of that, but. I'm just hoping that when it's all said and done, having stepped down the service and all that, maybe we're saving some real money. That's my hope forward.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that, okay, Lou, why don't we just stay on your report? Because we've kind of got you so far into it. Let's keep on that and we'll jump back.
Sure, okay. Well, if the board doesn't mind, so if you would reference the report, I have a total of 6 action items, of which 2 are really priorities. One related to the Broad Street garage and the other to the Lafayette electrical issue. So if you don't mind, item 1 is the Broad in front. What had happened, if you recall, we had the earthquake back in, I think that was late February, early March. And as a result, the consulting engineers, THA Consulting, came out and did an inspection of the Broad in front garage. There was some concern because there was some vibration felt in the city, and they felt that 2 additional structural supports should be installed. And so they referenced their original drawings and identified the location. I believe it was column line C. I actually have the proposal here. On floors, column line C2 on this levels 2 and 3. They recommended adding 2 structural clips. It's bolting to the column and a plate that supports the concrete deck where there was some movement. So we received a cost from Sealcrete of $9,500. That includes the fabrication of the 2 structural assemblies. They have to rent a lift, a man lift, to be able to put them up, to be able to install these. And so that's the $9,500. It was recommended by the engineers, part of their monthly structural inspection. So I recommend that we move forward with that. It is captured in that budget for Broad in front. It's part of the ongoing costs. And actually, this might be a good moment, if you don't mind. I didn't actually number it as an attachment, but it's the sources and uses of funds budget for Broad in front garage. And just to highlight that report, the top portion is the overall budget, which I've identified based on the costs we had from 2021. I got some bids from demolition contractors. We included soft costs and all of these other pre-demo costs at the time, and we had a number of about 2.4 million. Since 2001, that number has now grown to about 3.4 million. And I feel that that's a comfortable number, knowing what we know today for pre-demolition and the demolition removal of the building to create a stoned base for redevelopment. And so then I also tracked where the funds coming from. In talking with Patrice and Ann, we took 200,000 from internal funds. Whether that's a good number or not, it's a placeholder for where's the sources of the 3.4 million.
You know,
Then
I
the
got,
CC
I hold on, where's the sources and uses? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So on the attachments that Patrice forwarded with the facilities report.
Okay, so you didn't print those. I'm sorry.
I
You
believe
got
it is the-
prints all this stuff out for me, sorry, and so
Oh,
I.
I'm sorry. So there's a zip, right? And Patrice, you had them all together. Facilities report, and then the second attachment was the sources and uses of funds, I believe. And then the others are numbered attachment 1 through 6. So this is the one that is top Trenton Parking Authority, Broad in front garage, sources and uses of funds for garage demolition, and over on the right, it's dated 6/6/24.
Email that came out for this meeting, the one with the documents, and it was actually in the zip file, because.
Yeah, I got all this stuff, I don't lose stuff in the end of it. Does anybody else have this?
Yeah, I have it. It's BF updated budget sources. That's the name of the file.
Right, you want me to fax that,
No,
yes, I'm sorry.
bear with me. If Scott's got it, then I have it too, I just.
Okay, yeah, I think Patrice, was it yesterday you sent mine? It was separate from the original. Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was part of your zip file. It was a separate zip inside the zip, right?
Yep, there's a
That's
zip
what it
within
was.
there.
Oh, wait a minute, there were 2 zips.
There's 2 zip files.
Right. I'm the smaller one. I'm
Okay.
inside the big one that Patrice has everything. on.
I'm
Right.
sorry. So which item am I looking at? Item 6? Item which?
No, it says BF updated budget.
Right,
Got it.
right.
Okay.
So, it's just a brief explanation of how the
Okay.
form works. And again, these numbers are still placeholders. I mean, as we get further into the process and we get a bid package, we can go out and get preliminary bids so that, you know, we can test that this 3.4 is a good number. There may be savings there. I'm hopeful there
You know where you
is.
stopped me cold is when you said TPA internal funds. I don't remember ever agreeing to that or discussing
Well,
that.
again, I don't, well, let me put it this way, and so if you look down below on this form, you've already incurred some dollars, hold on. We've incurred 95,000 to date.
Yeah, but we heard those only because CCRC arbitrarily refused to pay things that we thought they agreed to pay.
Okay,
I don't
Yeah.
wanna have, I don't wanna start saying internal funds. We need to stick to
Well-
this. We don't have the funds and
okay,
that's.
well, I can eliminate that, but then I'll be short 200,000, you know, I could add it somewhere else, and that's what this is, really, it's a draft.
All right,
Placeholders.
yeah,
If
and I'm
there's
sorry.
zero contribution, that's fine, but I need to, you know, capture it somewhere.
All right, and that's fine. Let me get my head around this and others
Sure.
can, but I just didn't have this in front of me and I don't like it characterized that way.
Gotcha, okay. But but for structure, that's, so the top part, we're saying, well, here's the total cost budget, and here's where the funds are gonna come from. You know, whether they're internal or external, but they're coming from somewhere to perform the project.
We're doing the RFBI to find a buyer or a joint venture partner. And they gotta put something on the table.
Gotcha, and maybe that's the placeholder up on sources, right, is the developer, redeveloper funds, or
That's right.
whatever, however we call it.
We don't have. it.
Then below the line uses of funds, this is really the budget that we developed for CCRC. Tried to add other items that we hadn't captured previously, but became aware of as a result of the Board of Appeals and the requirements for the monthly inspections and the like. So I've tried to go down in a somewhat logical order of how the costs were incurred. And you have the left column, which is the budget estimated cost for that task. And then the second to the right, cost incurred to date, column are funds that have been committed by way of, you know, working with Patrice to fill in the costs that we've incurred for the various line items. Now, another column could be added for cost committed, you know, and then you could track what you've actually paid out as opposed to what's been committed against the full budget. But again, this is a draft, and I think I've captured or tried to capture the tasks. I have a couple contingencies for both soft costs as well as hard costs, and of course, I'm showing the 3.4 being used. So all the funds that were raised would be used for the project.
Yeah. I get it. It's really good to have a document like this to react to. Even if I'm reacting, you know, like, hey, that's not gonna fly, and like, I don't think we should be saying that. So this, I need a little more time with this, and I think others should really kind of study it too. I'm a little concerned when we specifically say Colliers, for instance, because that's over our bid threshold, right?
I'm sorry, for the various, well, yes, now again, I'm not sure, these have been professional services, do they all need to be bid, Mike, in terms of, see, now, THA consulting is your engineering consultant, but Colliers would be a sub-consultant to them, you know, they do this specialty site engineering that THA does not. And THA said, well, we typically don't hire those sub-consultants, we let the owner hire them and then we coordinate with them. So again, it might just be a matter of how it has to be contracted for, and it may need to be publicly bid, but the reason I reflected it this way is just because those are the numbers we currently have. And you can just call it site engineering costs and redact any specific vendors. You know, for purposes of presentation.
And that's very much appreciated. Michael, I'd like you to think about that too, and maybe, you know, what you've seen done elsewhere. And I do get the distinction between professional services and, you know, general contracting and the like, that you don't, it's not the same. But
But
you know, I just think we gotta be transparent and I think we've gotta be out there. Talking to folks.
sure, and we need to be responsive to the public bidding laws, you know, and again, I defer to Mike on the process, and again, I can redact any names, that's probably a good idea, just to, you know, identify the task for the needed engineering, right, and
I mean, they help us effectively create a scope for what we might hit.
right, ultimately, right, the bid package is what they're going to produce for us.
Okay. Well, we don't have to,
No, we don't have to, so this was just an element just for the board, so that's how it, so they understand how it functions as to you know, a presentation. So then if we go through my items, the first item is a priority, this is so the structure of a $9,500 bid that was received from Seal Creek. So I would seek a board vote if possible tonight on that item. And if you'll indulge me, if you don't mind, I'll go through the rest. Items 2, 3, 4, and 5, we talked about last month. Those are the additional brought in front pre-demolition tasks, the engineering to develop a bid package, and then the environmental testing and inspection in order to address those issues. Again, none of that is urgent or critical to be acted on this month, but there are open items relative to the goal now I brought in front. Item 6, I again, we've addressed this evening already. This is the Lafayette electric service and the commitment that the board needs to make for releasing the transformer so we could schedule with public service. Again, currently you're paying temporary generator. It is functioning and could continue to function. I believe it's covered. We're waiting for the insurance company to confirm that both the temporary claim and the new service claim are both covered and they're agreeable to them. We have, at this point, sitting here tonight, we don't have an approval, but we're 99% confident that it will be approved. And, you know, maybe the board could take action subject to confirming receipt of the insurance claim, but I just hesitate to suggest waiting a month because we don't know, public service could be 6-8 weeks out. They were back in March when we first entertained before we knew all the details. So I would think it's going to take longer than a shorter period. So I think there's, you know, a priority need to move this ahead if
all right,
possible.
so let me first react and then everybody else should chime in terms of kind of
Sure.
formulating what the motion should be. I understand the broad in front, and my thinking is you want us to keep moving forward even as we're not quite resolved with CCRC. Just because this allows us to keep moving forward. Like, we have to do this before we can start engaging the other consultants that need to get in.
Correct, right, for safety purposes, for the security of the building, structural stabilization.
Now, in number 6, we know what that is. We want to keep that moving because we want to get out from under the generator and all the
The
temporary.
exactly right, yes. Mhm.
Now, the others, my gut reaction is can we hold off on those until we've got some clarity with CCRC?
I believe so. Again, I know the goal is to move this ahead, you know, to position the property, but you know, a month is not going to make or break it at this point, I don't believe, on those tasks. I would definitely recommend scheduling Seal Creek so we could get that structural support complete. And then certainly on the electric, we want to move that ahead. And again, we're not sure of the timing, but that'll also should move in conjunction with the Verizon needs as well at Lafayette. So, yeah,
Well,
and I agree with you, and I think we could wait on items 2, 3, 4. You know, 5, we could go ahead with, but they can't go in the building until the structural work's done, and that's likely not till next month anyway. So,
Yeah, see, I just don't want to get a situation where CCRC says, well, you know, they got to do that anyway.
right,
Which-
and since you've already paid it, we're not gonna reimburse, right?
Yeah, and we're saying, no, we don't have the money. That's why this 1.5 million was allocated, was to
Right.
do this project. And you know, they already did that when I, you know, submitted, I mean, Michael went and represented us in front of the county construction board. I wouldn't have gone there by myself. And somehow they said, well, we're not. Well, why? You know, there's just like, that's like singling out one soft cost and deciding, oh, we're not gonna pay that one. And I just don't wanna give them those openings. I wanna stay pushing hard for them to pay for these costs with the money that they can't do anything else with. So, anyway. Michael, having been to the county construction board or whatever, what's your thinking on this? Are we good with just maybe moving forward on one and letting the others sit for while we work things out with CCRC?
I think we gotta follow Lou's guidance and recommendation on what's best for the structural stability and security of that garage.
Which is the number one, right?
Which is the sealcrete, right?
Yeah.
Correct, right, installing 2 additional support angles.
Lou, you mentioned item 3, item 4. I don't see item 4 listed or named.
Oh,
so-
I'm sorry, you know what, you're right, and there's no attachment for item 4. What item 4 reflects is, as Collier is a sub-consultant to THA to design the demo package. There's also a Vibra Tech is the name of the consultant. What they do in a demolition project of this nature, in an urban environment, there's vibration monitoring and testing that will have to go on while the demolition is underway. They'll set these seismic type recorders and make sure that the building up the block is not vibrating as they, jackhammer the structure type of a thing. So that's the 15,000. That's a placeholder. I spoke to the Vibratech engineering folks, and they're going to get us a proposal, but it hasn't come yet. So in speaking with him, he felt a $15,000 placeholder would be a fair value for their services. They, again, would be a sub-consultant to THA, but THA usually looks to the owner to hire them directly and then just coordinates, the design engineering effort. So that's what item 4 reflects. My apologies. Yeah, there is no item 4 attached. It's just noted in the action items.
Anybody else have any insights, thoughts, questions? If not, then I would like to move that we award Sealcrete contracting the sum of $9,500 for the proposal dated 6/20/24 to install additional structural supports per THA consulting site inspection.
I
Do I
think
have
you
a
said
second?
9,500. You said 9,500.
Correct.
Yeah, 500.
I
What
thought
did
it was 95. I thought it was 95,000.
That's the electric. It's just how
Oh.
it happens.
Oh.
That's
No, I like
Yeah.
9,500. I like that.
a lot to remember tomorrow, right?
So is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Questions? Okay, all in favor of moving forward with the Sealcrete contract for that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Lindy respond?
I did, aye.
Gotcha, okay, thanks. Okay, and in the same vein, I'll make the motion that, we accept we move forward on the proposal in the amount of $95,205 dated 6/12/2024 from Allied Federal Electric Corporation, specifically Joe Peoples, in order to release the transformer for fabrication. Oh, we're looking for a 1/3 deposit. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
Correct.
The motion is for the deposit, or do we have to make a motion to accept the whole contract?
Well, I think you probably need to, you are really committing to all in, although you only need to pay the 1/3 to release the transformer, and I think he has a third when he does the transformer delivery and installation, Patrice, and then at the end, right, he has the final payment due after completion. So
Okay, so the motion is to accept the proposal, the $95,000 proposal with the payments scheduled as proposed. And 1/3 deposit to be paid immediately. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, questions before a vote? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Lou, anything else?
That's it. Just, ongoing theme of the facility report is both the Lafayette garage as well as the Liberty Commons garage. Both had 2019 condition surveys done. One building was considered in good condition, the other good to fair condition. That's 5 years ago. We should probably consider condition surveys again. The last condition survey recommended, 6 figures worth of work in both buildings. Certainly with inflation and time, 5 years down the line, I'm sure those costs have gone up and scope of work has increased. So again, nothing that needs immediate attention, but just be aware that, there are some looming facility needs that, every 10 to 12 years, those decks need some pretty significant capital repair and improvements. Caulking and sealants and things of that nature. Some of the deck coatings wear off, need to be restored, things of that nature, as well as structural, spalling and rust and things. So those facilities are generally in serviceable condition, but something that the board should consider, and by looking at about a $10,000 to $15,000 cost per building for the surveys, just to get that piece of it. So I'd recommend considering that at some point as time, as we move forward. Otherwise, I think, Patrice, maybe you could speak to, or Phil just left the room, the Merchant Street lot, some patching ongoing, but otherwise the facility again is serviceable out there and no major issues that are looming.
No, just the potholes.
Right.
Well, and Lou,
So-
I want to thank you because you really have kept this kind of in the forefront, and when COVID came, we just kind of had to
Right.
put
and
everything on hold, but we're kind of, it's in the rearview mirror. We're doing a little bit better income wise, and so I think we gotta start to inch this back to the front
Right.
burner.
And if you don't mind, and one other comment is also the Warren Street garage, if you recall, and gosh, I have to look at my own notes here, but 2021, we had a fire inspection and we had a series of violations. The biggest part of it is they wanted a standpipe in the garage, if you recall, a water service that goes all the way up, they could hook a fire hose to. And they also wanted us to put fire sprinklers in the basement of the Warren Street garage under the office
Fire
area.
rated doors too.
And right, rated doors, a whole series of fire coded. And at the time, we were looking at about, and again, it's in my report, about a $250,000 budget. And of course, with inflation, that's a looming cost. If the fire inspector comes back, I'm sure he'll, reissue some of those notices and, look to us to address it. So that's the other looming, repair capital reserve cost out there.
We kept them so busy on elevators, they sort of.
So, right, exactly. Yeah. But they may refocus at some point as the dust settles, but.
All right. Lou, we are gonna be finding your replacement. We are gonna probably take you up on your offer to help transition that and.
Sure, happy to do that, yeah. And
we're there on this too. You could go.
so, yeah,
Okay.
just let me know, and I can get the word out too, that your RFQ is out there.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
To
great.
others in the industry, so.
Yeah, we're starting to do that, but more is better. in terms of testing. Anybody got any other questions for Lou? Okay, let's go back to this Comcast Smart Solutions parking system. So we discussed this and we had the presentation last month. We had had a couple of meetings beforehand. Sam had asked that we see if there was anybody else we should be talking to that might offer these services, and so we did that. LAZ parking is a big, very big parking operation, and we had crossed paths with them. They do a lot at the airport. And obviously Nexus, we know because they're a locally based company, but they do a lot at the, Metro Park, Hamilton Station, Rowan University. So we reached out to LAZ Parking, and Patrice and myself and Phil got on a call with them. They sent a sample of what they wanted to do, and frankly, what they wanted to do, and as it turned out, what Nexus also wants to do is, they don't want to just bring technology to the table. They want to take over the operations. That's what they do. They do a whole package of either for a deck or for an organization. They don't want to just sell you some software and some technology. They want to bring their proprietary work, much like Comcast does, except they want a whole operation. And I recall it was north of 300,000, right, from LAZ Parking. We talked to Mike Sasilka, who we all know, well, some of us know from Nexus. And they all know each other. That's also very interesting, because it's a small industry. Everybody knows each other, and he's the same thing. And, reminding us that when the hotel was built, they managed that garage for us. And we pulled back from that kind of arrangement, to take it under our management umbrella. So that kind of reinforced some comfort on my end, and, we can talk more about that, but this Comcast is an interesting and affordable solution to our technology issues. We did look at the contract. I talked to Michael a little bit about it. They obviously put out their standard form, much as Verizon put out their standard form, and we pushed back and said, they were looking for a 60-month agreement that could be canceled, but then we would have some carryover ongoing costs if we canceled. And so I talked to them, and they sent something literally just before the meeting, and so you'll have that. I think Patrice sent that. Oh, no, I sent it out, really just before the meeting. And it went to a 1-year contract. And so it would be 1 year and then renewable annually with a 4% increase. And none of that kind of hangover obligation that a five-year agreement would have called for. And they didn't, they responded pretty quickly and pretty positively. I think they really want to work with us. You'll recall this is a test of the Warren Street garage, because our technology is so challenged there. This would allow us to upgrade that. And if we like it and everything moves smoothly, we could, and they would hope that we would carry it forward to all of the garages. So with that, I would, much as we did with the Verizon, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Comcast Solutions contract, subject to a review by our attorney. Do I have a second?
Well, if I second, whatever you further,
Well, then we'll have to discuss. Who
okay,
seconded?
yeah,
Okay, so is that a second?
yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so now let's open that up for discussion.
My questions are like, what is our return on this investment? What is it actually going to do? I mean, it's good to understand our data a little better and have better data. It's not going to change our bottom line. We make X,
Well,
So what will this actually do for us?
I gotta tell you, when I drove in tonight, there's a sign that says cash only. Sorry, folks. Well, it doesn't quite say that. It's nicer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, literally, our technology is so bad. We can only take cash or monthlies here. We've got tokens.
We have a problem with that.
I mean, this one where we're doing this, our technology is so bad that we can only do cash. We can't make change, right? Can we make change? We can make change. But we're using tokens for the community college students, which means they can come and go as they please. We have no control over how much they park here, even though it's intended for them to come in for one. Because the tokens are such retro programs. And transient parkers have to pay the full day rate. So if we had somebody that just wanted to use our retail and they needed to do something that's going to take them an hour, they're going to pay for the whole day. They're going to pay $12. And that to me is just embarrassing. It's bad. And this is an opportunity for us to do kind of a test of their technology and correct those problems and have data. I should add, as a little bit of an aside from the Comcast thing, we got an email from none other than THA Consulting. THA Consulting, our retained engineer consultants, have been hired by Treasury, the state, to do a study of their parking. And we knew they were gonna do this. This came up a year ago, that they were looking for consultants because with COVID, nobody has data. I mean, we're bad, we have no data, but they don't have any data either. And so they're trying to figure out what is their real need, what is their demand, what is their usage and occupancy levels. They have the Bank Street deck, which is 1,100 cars, and they have the deck by the post office, which is 1,600 cars. Plus they have all their surface lots. And so from what we gather from this little short message we got from THA, who was asking us for our data, which we don't have, is that they're getting on top of it. And I think it behooves us to also know what our occupancy is. So I think from a customer standpoint, being able to do better transient parking in this deck, doing something a little bit more up to date with the student parking, and doing cash and payments and all of that is very important for a customer standpoint. But for strategy and long-term planning, having much better data, which this will generate, we got to look forward, folks. We got to be able to know what capacity we have, where, what our surplus is. If apartments are coming online downtown, how would we stew off-peak? How would we price off-peak parking for people that are mostly evenings and weekends? I mean, for just a whole bunch of reasons, we need to do this, and it's pretty affordable. So that's my case. Anybody else got concerns, questions? Or Scott, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, just on the last part, you said it's affordable. So in the end, once this is in operation, we're able to, maybe deal with transits a little better, manage cash, credit cards, whatever like that. In the end, will it make us money, or will it end up costing us money in the end, saying, we made, X. Now we're making less than that because of the system is, we're able to better to manage it, but it's costing us so much money that we're actually losing money in the long run. We're not going to lose money in it, are we?
Well, remember ages ago, we talked to Mike Sasilka about this, because he said everybody's got this problem where people don't want to buy monthlies anymore. They don't want to buy monthly parking passes because they're not coming in every day. And he says, so the industry is facing this problem. And he was researching overlay technologies, and we got all excited. He said they're going to be really affordable. And then we went back and asked him, well, what'd you find out, Mike? It was all six figures. It was all 100,000 like per deck to upgrade the software. This is, once you've kind of got the system set up, there's some one-time costs. And then the monthly operationals to me are kind of manageable. They're on the lines of what we're talking to, we're paying to the door and window guards that will go away when we get that deck handed off. I think if you have better transient parking capacity, you'll get more transient parkers. But right now, people aren't going to go to that deck to go to Walgreens or whatever because it's too expensive. I think we also have to concentrate on getting it better around it, because we have to make the case to the city that they need to raise the rates on those parking meters. Because people shouldn't be sitting all day at parking meters, which is bad for our retailers. But right now their rates are such that it's cheaper to park on the street. And that shouldn't be the case. And we've got to go make the case to the city. But how do you make the case if you don't really have the data?
So
So,
here's my 2 cents on that. I'm sorry, Scott, were you still?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so one, I think it is important for us to get up to date, and having the data will help us as we go along, because it'll either prove that we need to do what we're doing, or it'll disprove that what we're doing is a waste of our time. I think in the long run that it will pay for itself, but not having a system where we can pay for parking outside of cash. Most people don't carry cash anymore. I know I barely carry cash. My sons, so for the most part, they don't even have, it's antique. It's like an antique item for my children. So getting away from cash and coming into this century, I think it can only help benefit us. And even with those who are coming from the outside, that's what the other communities are doing. When I travel, I very rarely have to use cash. I use my card for everything, practically 90% of everything. So I think it is important for us to get the data, but also to get into this century and get our information. Love the kitty, Michael. Sorry, just totally.
I just
But
wanna
yeah,
make
but I
one
just think it's
clear
important for us.
that the
Go ahead,
actual equipment at Warren Street,
Say it again.
the actual equipment at Warren Street Garage, the garage that we're speaking of, it actually had to be taken out and repaired. That's the reason why we're only taking cash. We usually do take credit card also. It's just the whole-
Okay,
So that's not a good thing anyway, because the system's down,
right.
but normally we would.
But
Okay.
we also can't do we gotta do full day, all day, or nothing. Well, it's all or nothing.
And so that's not good. So because I'll circle, this is just me. I like my money in my pocket. So I'll circle around and circle around and circle. I'm not paying for a full day if I know that I'm only going to be somewhere for an hour, 2 hours max. I'm not doing it. And I think it's price gouging to the community when you force them to pay for something that they're really not utilizing, at least not in part. Yes, it'll be helpful to them in the long run, but I do believe that we can do better, and paying for a full day every time you go in there is not it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I had a court appearance in district court a couple weeks ago and parked in the Merchant Street lot. I did not have cash. My client did and gave me a $20 bill, and I did. And next time I may try to park on the street.
In those cheap meters,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's our competition. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's I think this contract is definitely a cost, but I think it's going to give a lot of valuable feedback and information and flexibility, which can result in, new incremental income by having flexibility to charge different rates and for different purposes and for different users. So that's my 2 cents.
Sam, did you have some thoughts? Because I know you were very.
Yeah, I have a thought, I'm actually on the side of Scott. I'm all for to improve our parking facility and so forth, but, I'm also conscious of profit as well. So that's why last week of the last meeting, I suggested that, we seek, a second option. Because I felt that Comcare, first as Comcare was a bit as expensive. So for now, from what I gather, it appears to me that you and Mike actually like what you saw or what you heard. Okay. Now also, you said that during the setup, maybe the first year it'll be more as expensive, right? Is that correct?
There is
You
some
said-
initial payments in that contract. That part of it hasn't changed at all. Yeah, so there's some initial upfront equipment items,
And
$11,000, right?
I think so, yeah, about 11,000, and then it's about, what, 2,000 dollars a month or something.
Something, yeah, per month, yeah.
so obviously we want to realize our profit during the second year. In the second year, right.
Yeah,
I would say we probably start getting regulated.
I think there's also a lot to be said for people not bad mouthing the parking authority or Trenton generally about, these old systems where you go into New Brunswick or you go into Princeton and everything is kind of, I think we're playing catch up ball here.
Yeah, there's a lot to do with, the bigger places, some of the bigger places, and the bigger management have
Hey,
bigger,
we're big, I mean, relatively.
well, bigger revenues.
Yeah.
And they have more budget to,
Yeah.
to spend sometimes.
well, if you actually support it and if you support it and trust it, that it's going to benefit us, then I will go along.
Yeah, so Patrice wants to.
Yeah, no, it's just, the whole thing is, the reason why years back. The reason why we chose Warren Street to be able to be a one-time fee. Was because 75% of the people in here were card holders and they work for the state. So right now, we were averaging possibly about 20 people a day as transient parking in here. And then again, those people were mostly state workers also. So that's why it was evaluated at that time. Now we have, you know, the school, which was great, Mercer County. And that would definitely benefit, I think, from like a QR code or something that they might be able to do. But I guess just for the councilwoman's, you know, knowledge, Liberty Commons Garage on East State Street, I'm sorry, East Front Street. That is our main hub for the transients. Parking, and that's where we have most of our, you know, we have our 2-hour free coupons for the merchants to be able to, you know, offer to their, you know, the customers.
But we're doing that at Lafayette.
And also Lafayette, now we moved that also to Lafayette. So, you know, and that one has flexible rates, hourly rates. So that one's more towards, you get about 150 transients a day in there.
That's the newest technology.
And that also has the newest technology. So that's the reason why we were waiting, holding off on that right now, but. So I guess we'll just see how it works over here.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much a test case. I think a fairly low bar from a cost standpoint, considering what we've been told everybody else is sort of looking at and not familiar with.
So I'll give you the other part of the caveat for me for that. So thank you, Patrice, for that update. I appreciate that. One of the biggest complaints that we get in council as of late is parking. Parking, no matter where they're going, be it from the schools, be it from folks who are trying to run into the store and run out of the store, it is parking. And I believe that if we were to do this, especially in the downtown area, and that is the bulk, that is the biggest complaints that we have is downtown, is a lack of parking and folks just not being able to get in and out comfortably. So you figure if someone is if they park in our parking garage and then they have to go up the street, let's say we have to now allocate 10 minutes, 15 minutes either way. And hopefully they'll lose track of time and they'll spend some money in our stores that are down there. So that's great. We want to be able to draw that crowd of people, and even residents. If residents have to move as they're moving about from downtown to to whichever area of Trenton that they're coming from, or the local communities, Ewing, Hamilton, wherever it is, being able to have folks to come in there. And again, yes, we are competing with those meters that are on the streets. We absolutely are, because again, folks will probably do like I circle around until you find someone pulling out and you hope to get in that spot beforehand. But you want to be able to accommodate, so to say, but accommodate in a manner so that folks can work with you. You don't know whose pockets, but we don't want to also come out on the losing side. You don't want to have a garage that's $12.50 and nobody's going in there and it stays there, and then everybody's trying to get in there. So are we going to have a full garage, or are we going to have a garage that's partially or not full? We're going to have the variety with those who are able to, who want to do 12, who want to do the whole day. We'll never know what that revenue is, but again, the metrics will help with that. Getting that data, we can now see where people are they doing a whole bunch of short term? Are they doing the whole day? And let's gauge it from there. But I'd say we need the data in order to do that and provide folks with more options. I love the idea of having options. And so thank you for that with Lafayette. And did you say East Front Street is the other one?
It's Liberty Commons. It's right across the street.
Liberty
from
Commons.
Lobby Club.
Oh, from the Lobby Club.
It's right across the street.
Yeah, and the thing is that what we've been trying to do is we also, you know, TDA is right here with us. So, you know, we work every day with them. And we do a program, so we give discounted rates for our merchants when they come in. They get a discounted rate. And they also, they're called 2-hour free out passes. So the merchant buys the pass for 50 cents. But they will be able to give the customer, here's your pass. You could have lunch, you could go and park for free, for those 2 hours. And we keep trying to peddle this to the merchants to offer this. But again, there's a select few that are. But no one else is doing it. So we can't just, force people to deal with the programs. Now, the other thing is that it was funny because some of the merchants all of a sudden were like, oh, running in there to get passes for their employees because their employees want to park right out in front of the stores. And then they want to stay there all day.
Their employees, no less. Can you imagine?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
And it's
so,
cheaper.
but we're like, but do you understand that we're giving you guys this discount? So when you look at it, if you get one ticket, it's gonna cost you what it's gonna cost you for a month. So, but again, so we get calls because everybody thinks we handle the street parking. We get calls all day long. And we have to give them the city's number. So, it's kind of hard when you're working with 2 different entities.
Yeah.
Because we can't offer you suggestions or offer anybody else suggestions. We don't know what the city is doing as far as that part of it's concerned. The only thing we can do is try to offer help. And different suggestions.
Yeah.
So that's what's hard on that.
But
end.
that's good to know because I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were merchants that had that option. And we've been getting flooded with the merchants lately, talking about their consumers have been coming and they can't park for 5-10 minutes out in front of their property without getting ticketed. And so now I can say, are you aware that this garage, can you direct your customers to that? So that's extremely helpful to know. I need to share that with the rest of my colleagues.
And also, again, you can have it's $7, $9, and $12 in that garage also. Front Street Garage, the Liberty Commons, and also Lafayette is the same. That's hourly.
It is a conversation we need to have in depth at another time because it's understood that premium parking, which is parking on the street in front of it, should be paying more. You pay more for the premium parking, but that's not true in Trenton. It's cheaper to park in front, and so people park there and they stay there
all
very
day.
long, and it's very bad for merchants. And I once raised this with a former chief of staff, and he didn't want to hear it because he said, "So we need the income." Well, we're saying raise the rates. That means more income, but he just was kind of not wanting to deal with it. So we need to get to that, but this is a part of it. This is a step in that direction. So with that, I would like to ask for a motion or for a vote on that motion. All in favor of pursuing the Comcast proposal, just subject to a review by our attorney, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Okay. That's kind of the business. Now, I mentioned that state study. I wanted people to be aware of that. People should also know we did have a meeting with CBiz, Board and Pro, and our insurance. And our insurance is actually gonna go down probably as much as we're gonna pay for Comcast, actually.
Yeah.
We're gonna switch from Travelers to Chubb. For the building part of it, and it's a nice savings that they were able to get from Chubb, and so that's a good news report.
Can I just chime in on that? Travelers has been very responsive. Travelers has been just very good overall in providing the parking authority with defenses to a lot of slip and falls. They never question any claims. So as long as you're getting a commitment
numbers are hugely different. I wonder if I can bring it up.
I
on my-
think theirs was going to be, well,
Here-
theirs was
here,
gonna
I'll
go
go-
up to, I think, 135,000, and this is 60.
We'll send this over. We really just got it. We had a call that was scheduled 2 weeks ago, probably. And we got the report, you know, an hour before the call. But the totals, can I turn to them? Okay. The expiring premiums annual total was 217,000. And the renewal premiums, this is for everything, is 194. So we're talking about a 20,000 overall. Now, there's like 1, 2, 3, there's like 7 different, 8, 9 different policies. And several of them are going up, but the difference between,
And the other ones are gonna stay under travelers. It's just the one building.
yeah, the building one. Okay, so the building property was at 96,000,
Yeah.
and that's gonna go to 60.
But they're the new travelers quote that they were giving us because of everything, you know, all the claims going on, was gonna be around 135,000
Yeah, so
for
they
this
knew,
year coming.
yeah, so it would have been 135 versus Chubb at 60.
And Chubb is definitely aware of everything going on, and, you know, because we did question that.
Okay.
And they know
Uh,
that there's a plan with the
Yeah.
electricity now, so hopefully nothing like that will ever happen again, because it's gonna go directly. You know, feed directly. Okay, we're gonna say, okay, Mike, we're gonna say hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
Well,
The weird
it-
stuff happens to us, you know that.
You know, all the advertising for insurance companies is true. You know, it's expect the unexpected, and you don't know what's going to happen.
That's right.
And so, and I'm all in favor of savings, just like I know the rest of this board is too. But you know, there's sometimes nothing more expensive than cheap insurance. And Travelers has always, you know, stepped up to defend and cover, you know, a lot of nonsense complaints that have been filed.
Great too, they did all that without any problem.
Right. And, you know, some insurance company has a different level of service, and they may say, you know, we're not going to defend this because, you know, the parking authority shouldn't have been sued. And so we're not going to cover attorney's fees for a motion to dismiss. We're not defending this because it's, you know, this didn't happen on one of your properties. And, you know, that's never been an issue with the service that Travelers has provided. So I just want
We
Say
did
that-
just- that
Well,
was-
I did specifically ask, because I don't know the insurance business and I'm a little paranoid. I said, is this would they, you know, screw us on the other claim that we're trying to process for the Lafayette garage? And they assured us that these big companies, there's just not an interaction between claims and the underwriters that are setting the rates. They're just not. But they also said they have a claims guy on their staff, an attorney at Port and Perlman, that interacts and kind of, you know, would ward off any, if there was a sort of retaliation. They said it's not gonna happen, but they would be alert anyway.
Okay, as long as there's a general understanding that the level of service will not diminish with the decrease in premium payments.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really, they're still gonna have they're still gonna have half the account, Travelers, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's just for the one line.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both of these big claims that we have are for under the garage, the building.
Yeah.
It's not under workman's comp or anything, which Travelers is still gonna have, so. That should probably be something that we just mentioned one more time before.
And so they're gonna get all the stuff there's no claims on. Good for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an update on that. I had mentioned to Councilwoman Frisbee that I was in touch with the city clerk, just trying to clarify things with board membership. He gave me some instructions. I ran that past Michael. We're working through that, and we'll be communicating with the council regarding board appointees. Michael, I didn't call the clerk again. You had some thoughts. I just need to check with you one more time before I send that email out. Okay. I don't think I have anything else. Does anybody else?
I just
Okay.
have one question to loop back to your earlier report.
Yep.
Again, on the RFEI, what, there's no due date on it yet, 'cause I know you haven't said it, but again, I'm going back to, it looks great. I like it. But there's two things. One, what kind of, when are we gonna send it out?
Well, here's the thing. So I have to tell you, I was really struggling with the web and how it looked in the design. And that's why we went to a professional designer. And now they are incorporating this just overall design and some of the graphics and all into that. And then we also asked them for one more thing, which is we're not gonna do the typical thing where you ask for 4 hard copies and a thumb drive. We're gonna just have it all be submitted online or via email, all electronic, so it can be distributed. So that's a little changeover, and they're gonna make those changes and, incorporate this and what we had put together. And I owe them still some, we're gonna use a lot of links to like EDA programs, to the Trent 250, and I just gotta do a couple more paragraph descriptions for those links. But we're pretty close. But now that we've got this heavy revolutionary kind of thing going, if we kind of get it out on like July 3rd, wouldn't that be, 4th of July is the holiday, but if it came out in league with 4th of July, that'd be kind of a press hook as well. We do have the press release ready. The mayor gave us, corrections to his quote that's in it. So it's kind of queued up, but we're crossing T's and dotting I's and creating the uniformity between the professional design and what's on the web. We're pretty close.
So 2 weeks, week, what do we think? I just need an idea, just to.
I think within the next 2 weeks, it'll be out. July 4th would be fun if the web stuff gets good and it's proofed. In fact, if you want to volunteer to help do some proofreading on that when the time is right.
Well, I'm horrible at proofreading. Don't ask me.
Never mind.
I'll tell you right now.
You get caught up in this stuff, and that, just getting it to now where it really does look good. There was 2 drafts before I just said, this isn't gonna work. We only got one chance to get this out there. So, everybody take a look at the most recent draft. And Lou, I didn't send that to you, but you might have some insight. I'll get that to you. But I just think it just puts just a better spin on it.
It looks
inviting.
Last thing on it, the Good for Revolutionaries website, are you still going to use that for this? Because I saw it labeled on there.
It'll be linked from ours, but we want to kind of use that as a branding sort of thing and push that we are a historic revolution.
The reason why I bring it up because it has your business logo attached to it.
That's all being stripped off. I haven't been using it.
I just went there earlier and I saw it there.
Oh, because they haven't swapped it out. So they've got a working thing. And in other words, we didn't deactivate that. That's left over, but it's gonna strip it out. It's not gonna, our company doesn't really need that anymore. So
Okay.
they're stripping out everything related to us and it's gonna become this project only. We want to attract revolutionaries, or people that perceive themselves as revolutionary.
Now, I was just concerned about the conflict of interest because it's your personal business and.
I mean, no, there won't be any reference at all.
Okay.
We're handing it off. I don't need it anymore. Anyway,
Is there a cost associated with us taking it over then?
I didn't think about that. The renewals are like $25 a year. To keep
How
it
much?
Like 25 a year.
$25 a year to keep it.
25, not 1,000, right? Dollars.
Oh, $25. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then, yeah, fine.
yeah. Funny thing, small world though. There's a barber shop next door to my house that I moved into last year, right? And I go in and main barber Wayne calls me and he says, yeah, come in and meet my dad. And his dad's in the chair getting his hair cut. And he says, I know you. And I said, you do?
No.
It's our web designer.
It's Wayne Teal, yeah.
Oh,
Used him forever.
Wayne Downing, I wouldn't have put it together. So Wayne Downing's dad is Wayne Teal, who's our web guy. Small world. Anyway. All right, well, if that's all we got, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Bye.
Any
That's
objections?
all. Covered a lot of territory and moving forward. All good. All right, thanks, folks.
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.